Hello everyone, this is Professor DePaulo. Welcome you back to Psych 265 Fully Online. And today we're going to talk about the last sections of the paper of the manuscript that you have to write. The title page, the abstract, and then the reference page. So to start, we're going to go into our assignments tab. And let's find the walkthrough where I'll be posting the video, but I've posted a walkthrough for writing the title, abstract, and references. And the first thing we have to do is write the title of the title page, which is very simple. We need to start with a running head, which is a shortened version of your full title. So what you want to do is come up with the full title first, and then you're going to shorten it to make the running head. So let's try to come up with a title. Let's see what our title is going to be here. It has to describe the study in some detail. Something like correlates. Actually, I'll try the. Actually, here's a better one. The psychological correlates of vaccination. So that could be one title. I mean, that's a little short, but you know, that pretty much captures it because we're looking at psychological variables that correlate with vaccination primarily. Or we can come up with psychological traits that predict health or positive health-related behaviors. And I'm just making up these titles on the spot here. Psychological traits that predict positive health-related behaviors, because that would talk about vaccination, mask wearing, even though we're primarily looking at vaccination right now. I mean, mask wearing is important, but vaccination is more important. But you want to write something similar to this. I mean, you don't have to write the same thing. Obviously, I'd prefer you come up with something on your own, but something similar to this would be appropriate. So that's your title. Now, let's say I came up with this title. Spelled it wrong. Of positive health-related, I can't type, behavior. Let's say that's the title. And I don't want you to just copy this title down. I want you to make up your own title. I just made up this own title off the top of my head. Is it great? It's okay. It's not, amazing, but I just kind of made it up on the spot here. So spend a few minutes coming up with a title that captures the fact that we're looking at health-related behaviors, including vaccination and mask wearing. So now you're going to write the word running head, colon, like that. And now you're going to take the first few words of the title and you're going to write them in all capital letters. The psychological. So, the first couple words of the title. Make sure they're all caps, though. Okay. You can kind of put the title in the middle of the page. You got the running head in the top, and the running head should really be in the margin. So let me put that in the margin. So I'll put that up in the margin here. That looks better. So that should be in the margin. Now obviously this is going to be page 1. So you can label the pages however you see fit. Just put the 1 in the right hand side, because this is the first page, and you want to start numbering the pages for the final manuscript. Okay, so as you can see here, we want our running head. We also want the name, your name, and then the university name. Okay, so let's go back. So there's our title. We want the centered, of course. There's my name. And I'm going to write the whole name of the college, Borough of Manhattan Community College. Now, if you wanted to write City University of New York, you could do that too, but, you know, it's a long ask, right? That's fine. So, that's it. There's my title page. It took me all of 3 minutes to come up with the title, which, you know, I expect you to come up with your own title. You know, your name right underneath that, and then Borough of Manhattan Community College. You know, make sure there's spacing, so it should be double spaced. And then put the running head in the header. It's best in the header. Although, if you don't like to put it in the header, you can put it right below at the top. But I kind of like it in the header because that's where it should be. So there's your title page. Now, that's the easy part. The abstract is the harder part. So let's take a look at what the abstract entails. So the abstract should be done when you're done writing the whole manuscript, right? You're done writing the intro, the method, the results, and the discussion. So make sure you do all that first, and then the abstract should be between 150 and 200 words. You're going to write the word abstract at the top and center it. And then you're going to summarize, you're going to write the abstract in this kind of form. So it's a summary, basically. The purpose of the research is 2 to 3 sentences. So you can get this information from the introduction. In the introduction, you wrote about the purpose of the research. Why are we conducting this study? Why is it important? And we know it's important because we need to find out why people want to get vaccinated and why people don't want to be vaccinated. And it's not sort of judging people as to, like, you know, vaccination is good, non-vaccination is bad. It's not about that. It's about how do we convince people to who are otherwise hesitant to believe in the fact that vaccination is going to save people's lives. And is there something we can then, you know, notice about people that get vaccinated compared to people that don't get vaccinated? Are they different in some way? And how do we deal with that? How do we, you know, either convince, assuage people's fears, deal with the situation? Because we started out having about a 50-50 vaccination, no vaccination belief or opinion, and now we're getting closer to 67, you know, 2/3 basically. We have about 2/3 of people that are looking to be vaccinated or are vaccinated, and then we still have 1/3 of the population that's not being vaccinated. And, you know, can you convince those people to be vaccinated? I don't know. But you can try. You can try different things and see what works. So that's the first 2 or 3 sentences of the abstract. Then the next 1 or 2 sentences is the methodology. So what kind of study did we run? How did we run it? That's from the method. And then the next 1 or 2 sentences is an overview of the findings. So not statistics. So this stuff is similar to what you wrote in the first paragraph of the discussion. You know, what did we find? And in this study, we found one significant hypothesis. You want to talk about that. And that the other hypotheses are not significant. So only spend 1 or 2 sentences here. Don't write like a whole paragraph. So just really focus on what you found significant, what you didn't find significant. And then the fourth part of the abstract is a summary of the conclusions of the study. 1 or 2 sentences. So what is the take-home point of the study? You could probably get that from your discussion as well. And this should all be 1 paragraph, and it should be 150 words. Now I wrote 150 to 200. Ideally, you want to keep this at 150 or less. Some journals have very rigid requirements for the length of the abstract. Some journals will say 150 words, nothing more. And if you go over, they're going to reject your paper. So you want to make sure that you're able to keep this at 150 words maximum. So let's look at this sample abstract. This is the effect of job stress on clinical health outcomes. Approximately 15 to 25% of the U.S. working population is classified as high risk for job stress. This type of stress is known to exert a psychological toll on workers. However, less is known about the impact of job stress on physical health and how current findings translate to clinically relevant outcomes in everyday life, such as susceptibility to the common cold. So these first three sentences introduce the problem and briefly describe why the problem is important. It's high risk for job stress. And how do we reduce this job stress? Because job stress affects your physical health. So that's what we're doing and why it's important. So I'll continue. In an ongoing daily diary study, 68 adults, 37 females, completed measures of job stress and upper respiratory infections every day for 8 weeks. So this is the methodology. One sentence. That's all you need here. 1 or 2 sentences. So I'll continue now. Preliminary analyses show that males who had busier days at work on average also endorsed a greater number of total URI, which is upper respiratory infection symptoms. Additionally, males who reported lower perceived job security and less supervisor support were sick with upper respiratory infections on more days across the study than were those with greater job security and supervisor support. Among females, endorsing more busy days, whether at home or at work, was associated with greater endorsement of URI symptoms. So these 3 sentences summarize the results without the statistics in it. So I don't want to see statistics. I just want to see a brief 2 to 3 sentence summary of the results. What was significant? What was not significant? The findings expand our understanding of links between job stress and immune functioning by elucidating effects on a clearly relevant health outcome. And this is the conclusion of the study. And that's your abstract. So as you can see here, you're basically summarizing the different parts of the manuscript that you've already written. And that goes at the beginning of the paper, right after the title page. And what this abstract does is it directs the readers. So if you're a researcher or you're trying to read the journal and you want to know, is this article worth reading? One thing you can do is read the title and then read the abstract. And determine based on the abstract, is this something that you would use or is this something that you would not use? And so the abstract is very important because it's the first thing that the reader looks at. And depending on the abstract, that can say to the reader, let's read this whole article or let's move on. So you want the abstract to really communicate the essential findings and what the study is about. And it should be relatively interesting so that the reader wants to read the whole study. So this is the hardest part of this assignment, is coming up with the abstract. And I'm not expecting, a perfection, right? I'm not expecting a professional abstract your first go around, but I want you to try to summarize, like is shown here, the different parts of the paper, and make sure you communicate essentially what the study's about, what was the methodology, what was the results, and what's the take-home point. And if you do that, you'll have an effective abstract. No data in it. You don't really have to cite. You can cite a little bit at the beginning if you want to put a citation, but you really don't have to. And it should communicate what the study is, why it's important, and what the findings were. So that's the hardest part. That's going to take you a little bit of time to put together, but it's something that's very doable. You just have to go back to your previous sections and take out the relevant material. And now the reference section, so you should have the word reference. The references should be at the top here. So the word references should be centered at the top of the page. Double space everything and indent the second and subsequent lines of each entry. So you can see how if it's more than one line, like right here, you have an indentation. The second line is indented. And the third line would be indented. The fourth line would be indented. You see here 3 lines. The second and third line are both indented. And this should be arranged in alphabetical order by author last name. It's important to put it in alphabetical order. And in your references, you should have a minimum of 5 sources. And those 5 sources were used for the introduction, so you should have at least 5 sources. You can have plenty more. You should have at least 5 sources. So you're going to write the word references, center it, and then in alphabetical order, you're going to write each reference. Now, this is the format for the references if you were to do them from scratch. However, Google Scholar will make the references for you. And there's also other reference makers, computer programs that will make references for you. But Google Scholar is really easy to use, and they give you the reference. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's go find an article first. Let's go to Google Scholar, which you should be using for the introduction as well. Let's try empathy and mask wearing, because that was the first hypothesis. Let's take this article just for the sake of it. Looks interesting. Men's attitude towards mask wearing. Understanding the complexities of masculinity. That's interesting. If you wanted to read the abstract to see what it's about, here's the abstract. And this is about basically, you know, how do we get men to wear masks more? Because men maybe not, you know, maybe are not taking this as seriously as women are. And this could also be related to political ideology, etc. Men are not all men are taking things seriously, and they should be, you know, stepping up the mask wearing. Okay, that's their article. Journal of Health Psychology, something that I'd be interested in reading. You can read the whole article here. This is a path analysis. You've probably seen this in some of the articles you looked at, which are, you know, kind of confusing to you, which is okay. This is all the data. This is really confusing to you. These are just basically correlation. These are basically regressions, which are directional correlations, if you want to look at it that way. And these are just variables. And this is just sort of connecting the dots, how it goes. And then here is the interaction effect. Here you can see that if you're conservative, there's more barriers to participation. We can look through. You have to read the article basically, so I'm not going to go through all these graphs. But let's say I want to cite it. So let's say I use this article, and I want to cite this. So let's cite it. So click on here. Actually, don't even click on here. This will get you the article. What you want to do is click on this thing that says cite. When you click it on cite, you go to APA, because this is American Psychological Association. Here's your citation. So all you have to do is copy it, and then go into make a reference page. Let's say I make another, I'm going to add a page here. This is my title page. I'm actually not going to write the abstract, because you're going to write the abstract. But let's say I got to my reference page here. References, right? There's I copy and I paste it in. There's my reference entry for that article. Make sure that this is the journal name should be italicized. This is your ISBN number, which, you know, I guess you can use electronically to look up this stuff. It's an electronic journal, e-journal. So what we have, the only thing you have to do here, from basically what I did as I copied and pasted, is I need to indent the second line. So I can just take the second line and I cut it, and space over to indent. So I tabbed over, and then I have to do that with, you know, anything that carries over to the next line, right? I'm just going to cut and paste it again. Make sure it's double spaced. There you go. And there's your reference entry. So all you have to do basically is indent, and just cut and paste the lines and indent, and there's your reference entry. And then once you're done with all your references, put them in alphabetical order by author last name, and you're done. Nothing difficult. I mean, if you want to change the font, which you don't have to, but if I wanted to change the font on this, you would need to then make sure that this journal name is italicized. Because if you change the font, you're not going to, this whole thing is probably not going to be italics. Let me see if I change the font here. Let's say I want Times New Roman. Actually, it will be. So if I wanted to do that, see the formatting got screwed up though. So I'd have to redo the formatting since I changed the font. So this makes it a little bit more inconvenient, but you can leave it as whatever font you have it in. But if I change the formatting, I see I'm formatting it again. I'm cutting and pasting it. And there we go. So now I've made it Times New Roman. I like it in Times New Roman, but like I said, it doesn't really bother me. You should really have it in the same font that everything else, your whole paper is written in. But like I said, I'm more interested in the content of the paper rather than minor formatting issues. If you were to submit this to a journal and try to publish it, then you'd have to be aware of both the content, which is very important, but the journal also pays attention to the formatting. And if you don't format things correctly, people get they become very unhappy with you, and they're more likely to reject the article. So formatting is very important when you're trying to publish. But in this class, in the Psychology 265 class that you're taking right now, I'm more concerned with content than formatting. But try to do both. Try to keep the formatting, keep the font the same all the way through if you can. If you can't, I'm okay with that. I'm really looking for content here. So title page, I put the running head up here in the header. I numbered it 1 because it's the first page. You're going to number the final paper is going to be numbered. But this is the first page, so I just put 1 up there. And the middle of the page, centered, you're going to put the title. Make up your own title. Please do not just copy my title and paste it. Because if I see 20 or, there's 15 people in the class. If I see 15 to 30 exact same titles I've written here, I'm going to not be very happy. So come up with your own title. My title's not even that good. I just made it up in like 10 seconds. I didn't even think about it. So take a few minutes and think of a good title. Write your title. Now, major words should be capitalized in the title, and the first word of the title should be capitalized. But major words, like here, capital P, psychological, correlates. See, of is a minor word. It's not, it's not it doesn't convey any meaning. So, if you have of, and, the, and it's in the middle of this, if, all those words, right? You don't capitalize them. But capitalize everything else. Your name and your institutional affiliation, which were at Borough of Manhattan Community College. Then your title page is done. You're going to write your abstract, which is the hardest part of this assignment, the abstract. And then you're going to do the Google Scholar method and write the references page. So put references at the top. Put your references in alphabetical order. Save everything as a PDF file, and then upload it to Blackboard. So this is a very easy, because you don't have to even write your references. You just go to Google Scholar, and you click on Cite, and you click APA, and you format it, and it's good to go. You'll see this title abstract references. You're going to upload this as a PDF file by the due date. And then I will get it back to you really quickly, give you some feedback. And then once you're done with this assignment and you've done everything else, you're ready to now do the revised paper. Now, you should be doing the revised paper as you get the sections back. As I grade your sections, you should be just revising it. So that come the end of the semester, you don't have much to do. You've revised most of everything, and you're just ready to turn it in. And you'll turn the final paper in as a PDF file, and I expect that to be an improvement on the rough drafts. And then your final paper grade will be half the rough draft grade and half the revised paper grade. That'll become your final paper grade. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me, email me. And if not, thanks for watching. I hope this is helpful.